Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's Saturday edition of the Whitfield Report, part one of two. In part one of this week's episode for the Saturday edition, I'm going to be talking with Mike Sheely, aka Mersh, who is a well-known YouTuber who's been covering parts of the Owen Benjamin saga, as I've also documented here on this podcast. Mersh is a bit of a controversial figure. He's had an interesting past, which we go into a bit on the show. But he's helped me grow my YouTube audience for the podcast. So I wanted to have him on and just chat with him for a bit. This segment of the podcast will only last about 35 minutes or so when all is said and done. I really had a good time chatting with him, and I hope you guys will enjoy the show. So I'll start the podcast right afterward from our sponsors. Thanks for listening, and God bless. Alrighty, folks, and we are live. Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Whitfield Report. I am your benevolent dictator, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from South Florida via Google Hangouts tonight, folks, and I'll explain why. It's a bit of an unorthodox show. As many of you know, I was planning on having Mersh on the show via Skype, but that didn't work out because of technical difficulties. So I do have Mersh on the stream tonight via Google Hangouts. So let me get into contact info. As usual, you can follow me on Twitter at SamW_NGC and Instagram at SamW_NGC, hashtag Whitfield Report, Facebook.com/Whitfield Report, and Gab at Sam Whitfield. And of course, you can subscribe to the audio podcast on iTunes or wherever else you might subscribe. And without further ado, I want to introduce the man of the hour, Mr. Mersh. So how are you doing, sir?
How you doing, man? I'm good. I was trying to enjoy a relaxing weekend, but that fell apart very quickly today.
Yeah, so I hear you're having a bit of a bear infestation problem, just like the rest of us are.
Yeah, that was one of like three wars we're fighting right now. But yeah, the Bears, I guess. I did notice, like, after Owen was not live last night, that I got an infestation of people just, the standard thing, calling me a sodomite, calling me short, calling me dumb, the usual middle school sort of insults. So I'm dealing with it. But I honestly, I've been really blessed the last few months that I don't really have to worry about. Like, I've gotten over dealing with negative comments and the dislikes. They can say whatever they want. Like, I actually spent time today, like, in Discord and on the phone, having productive meetings with very large content creators, bigger than Owen Benjamin.
Oh yeah. But none of them are as smart as he is, right? He has 147 IQ. None of us can forget that.
Yeah, it's 147 IQ. No, it was confirmed. It was confirmed by his mother, and he's legitimately smarter than all the scientists at Oxford. He's come out about that, and clearly, I mean, after 1 hour of watching Owen Benjamin on a stream, obviously your IQ goes up exponentially.
Yeah, it goes up in the other direction somehow. So. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on was because I've been getting a lot of hate comments from Bears saying that, oh, Mersh is just a troll going after the Bears and whatnot. But you actually have a background and a history in podcasting / streaming and in comedy too. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to just briefly share your backstory with this audience. What are you all about?
Yeah, sure. I started off just being like a guy who sold weed and just whatever to get by and just did my thing. And then I started doing radio. I always wanted to do comedy and stuff, but radio was a good way to like hide from an audience
Hmm.
and just do it. So I did radio. I didn't like radio because then I realized radio nowadays just consists of being like, hey, any money coming up at the Civic Center, and it's brought to you by Miller Lite, and here's Skinner. Like, and it just was boring. And every time I tried to break the mold, I'd get fired. And I did stand up comedy, and I did okay at that, but it was still any comic will tell you it's like basically 10 to 15 years of just struggling and wanting to kill yourself,
Yeah.
making no money. And so I ended up doing podcasting, and I did well at that. Then I had a big public meltdown a few years ago, and kind of disappeared for a while. And then I got back into like the strip club business, which is what I used to work in whenever I was, not on tour, and got back into just strip clubs for years. And then Royce, who I've worked with before, we were talking about doing another show. We started doing ROTC, and just as a way to like kind of fight the culture war, because the right wing is tragically uncool and not funny. And we wanted to try
Yeah.
to change the perception. So we're like, well, what if we're just right wingers like we are anyway, and we just are just dicks? And we'll just try that. And it's been working.
One of the things I really appreciate about your show, because admittedly, I'm a newer follower, but one of the things I've noticed in about the month and a half, 2 months I've been following you guys is, you guys shit on both sides of the aisle equally, the left and the right, which I really, like because if you notice, namely with Crowder, he loves to just own the libs and, you know, point out the hypocrisy of the left, but then he'll have people on like you know, alleged pedophile Anthony
Yeah.
Cumia.
Yeah. It's
Or
like not only that, but he also is like, oh, we're gonna trigger these snowflakes, but like he never actually says anything that we don't already know. Like, yeah, the Second Amendment's awesome, the First Amendment's awesome, but what else? Like he doesn't really have any substance, and he'll go and he'll go to college campuses and kick these college kids around. But the moment like Sam Sater wants to sit down and have a debate, he doesn't know the guy's name, and he pretends like he doesn't see 10,000 tweets telling him to debate this guy. It's just like again, we call out crappy people, and we may have in the last year started to call out more people on the right, which some people admire and some people hate. But the problem is that we got into this to support the right wing, and we were having people on our show like Patrick Casey from Identity Europa, and I'm not an ethno state guy, but he's a gentleman. He's always been nice to me. Why not let him come on? Like I'll give him a platform. He's not calling for violence or doing anything crazy, but like we started getting labeled as this alt right show when in reality we just go at shitty people. And now we've sort of the reason why we've called out some right wing figures is because in our travels, we've started to realize kind of how shitty they are too. Like, there's a lot of shitty people on our team that are playing dirty and using dirty leftist tactics, and we're like, but that's not us. That's not supposed to be us. So, we started calling out the Cernoviches and the Cassandra Fairbanks and all these other fake conservatives.
yeah, I've noticed too. It's just like a huge cash grab as one. I mean, and I've been doing this podcast thing for a long time as well. And I mean, I don't want to name people on stream here, but when I jumped on the Trump train, I did not do it for cash or anything. I did it because I mainly liked Trump. And one of the things I had to contend with was my audience used to consist of a lot of people who were never Trumpers, and
Mm-hmm.
they started jumping off and saying, "Hey, watch out because we would hate to see you discredited once Trump loses." And I'm like, well, either here are the two options we have. Either we have Trump or Hillary. Trump's not a perfect guy. He admits his flaws, but I would much rather take an imperfect man who has flaws than
Mm-hmm.
basically one of the worst people in the world, I believe.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like people give me shit, but I've been on the Trump, like, people go, well, I was on the Trump train for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I was on the Trump train when it wasn't even a train. I was on that shit when it was just a dumpster fire. I was on that train when he announced I'm running for president. And I looked at that lineup of GOP picks and I was like, yo, please run, my dude. And I was back when he was a joke candidate. Like I was one of those early Ann Coulter types. Like, and I didn't even have a show, but because I'd done stand up for years and because I'd had shows prior, even though I was just a strip club DJ, I still had a pretty good internet following. And I was using that to shitpost as pro-Trump I voted for Trump because he was amazing. Like it was like he was literally telling people to their face, like, you're Bush League, you're lightweight, get out of my face. Like, I'm not, you're polling at 3%. I don't even have time to respond to you. And I was like, that's what we need. We need people to be like, yo, clown shoes, get out of here. The grown-ups are talking. And, when people are, you called women fat, and he goes, just Rosie O'Donnell. Like, I was like, I love this dude. Like, he's not, I've always believed, long before Trump, I always believed that, because trust me, as a man who's had many controversies myself, the best way to navigate a controversy is to just be yourself, be real, and go, yeah, I fucking said that. What are you gonna do? Like what do they, when they come to you and go, did you say on, January 19th that we're gonna put? Yeah, I said it. Like I make jokes, I say things. Like I'm not gonna sit here and that was what was so great about Trump is you had years of these politicians and they would play a videotape where they said something and they'd go, yeah, but I didn't mean that. I didn't really say that. And you're like, yes, you did. Whereas Trump's like, yeah, I called Rosie O'Donnell fat. She's a fat pig. But it was like this cognitive dissonance of we'd spent so long being polite and being like, I do think you look good in that dress. And it was good to finally. Look, are you going to?
Are you back? I think you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
that was a weird issue there. I don't know what happened.
I think Google is already trying to censor both of us for
I don't usually go that route. Like I don't even play off that, like, oh, we're being shadow banned. Like usually it's a massive company and they're streaming like thousands of videos. Like I only get paranoid when I start seeing that, like, you're put behind a block list or you're not monetized. That's when I start calling out the whats.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying that mostly as a joke, just because it happens. That's like the number one go-to response for conservatives is anytime anytime Cernovich gets in trouble with like Twitter or something, it's like, you guys, the pedophiles and the elites are all trying to ban me. That's the other weird thing with all these people that I don't get with the new right wing is we're all calling each other pedophiles now. It seems like if you don't, it used to be Nazi, but now if you don't agree with everything that I say or do, you're automatically a pedophile, which is another weird extreme that I just don't dig.
Oh yeah, no, everybody's a pedophile on the internet.
Yeah.
If you're a YouTuber, you probably banged a kid at some point. That's according to YouTube rules, because everybody like lobs that around. That was the other thing I was dealing with today. Like, you think the Bears are bad? Forget the Bears are stupid boomers. Like they're legitimately worthless people on the internet when it comes to actually like rustling anybody's jimmies. But I'll tell you who you got to worry about. It's the like the blood sports kind of internet crowd, and those people started coming at us hard this week or today because Andy Worski included a clip of us in one of his videos, and Worski and us have like a storied like beef going back like a year. So like that was obviously weird to a lot of people, and they're like, "Why did Andy do that?" So I reached out and I was like, "Hey, thanks, man," and we started talking, and right away, like half of the internet blood sports crowd was like, "Didn't Revenge of the Sis say that Styx Hexenhammer was a pedophile?" And I'm like, "We never said that." We've had this talk before. I had to talk it out with Andy today. Those people are way more intense and autistic than the Bears, because the Bears are just, Midwestern boomer drunks who watch Owen babble for 2 hours about QAnon and go to sleep.
Well, the whole thing with the bear cult, the whole feud with the DZ that started off. I mean, I'll speak to what I can, and I've said this on the stream before, but the whole bear war, in my opinion, started because of Eric Nimmer. Basically, he got beat by a guy who's not even a comedian, a bear by the name of Near, who's also been a guest on.
Yeah, he was the one that was like, you're dying on stage, Nimmer. By the way, he is a real. That guy does seem like a guy that like I would equally want to hang out with and also punch in his face, which is a compliment. I mean,
Yeah.
I like New York, like Boston-y, New Yorky, ball-breaking assholes like that. And you could just tell he's a guy that you'd be like, oh, you guy.
I'll have to send you the interview I did with him, which happened like a week after the whole Nimmer feud, and at that point, like things were kind of on the skids, but things hadn't derailed completely. But yeah, he's one of these guys that you do kind of want to punch in the face, but then you also want to, grab a beer with him, too. And it's like, you guys, this is incredibly stupid that we started a whole all-out internet warfare over the Bears.
I've seen a 20-second clip. Yeah, I've seen a 20-second clip of John Neri, and I could just tell he's the kind of guy that I would hang out with in New York, but he's the kind of guy I would get like in a fist fight with every 3 months. And then we'd be cool. Like, he's just like, which is fine because I'm that kind of guy. Like, I'm the kind of guy that you want to fucking punch in the face sometimes. I'm breaking your balls. But yeah, no, that was like my whole take on this. Even with me, I can only speak for me, and I can kind of speak for Porcelain because he came in with a very similar kind of distant viewpoint of this whole thing. We didn't know of all this shit that Owen was into. All we saw was a crazy dude screaming at the moon every night. And we were like, all right, this guy's a little weird, right? Like, we could probably do something with this. And then as he started missing family functions, fighting with, I was like, okay, this is lolcow material. But when we started, the thing was like, Porcelain came to me and he was like, I'm doing a documentary about Owen. And I told him, hello, yeah. I'm cutting out again. Sorry. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I got the part where you said, and Porcelain came to me, and then
So Porcelain came to me and was like, I'm doing a documentary about Owen, and I was like, dude, a few months back we trolled him, and he goes, oh, if you got the clip, I'll use it, and I was like, all right, so. But then I couldn't find it because it was actually when I caught a YouTube ban, so Twitch deleted the video, and but it was like he was just at his house inside one night on his phone, like babbling, and we were live on Nightwave, and I sent all the trolls in his chat, and I was like, everybody call Owen out, he's on drugs. I was like, hey, are you on drugs? And he panicked and he ended the stream. And like,
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so we were just busted balls, and I was like, oh, let me see if I can find that clip, and I couldn't. But then I was curious by Porcelain bringing him up, so I started looking into him, and I'm like, yo, he's nuts. So then I was like just kind of lightly trolling him and messing with him a bit. And I saw how quick he was to ban. Like, that's like, dude, I'm a troll, which is an internet bully. If I see a weakness, I'm going to hone in. So I brought, the Nightwave and the ROTC fam in, and we started. And then Royce came back from vacation. So then we made it a big thing. And we started getting like where it was a rivalry and we were messing with them. And then that's when Chuck and some of the Danger Zone guys came to us and we're like, do you know the whole story with this guy? And we were like, no, what's up? Like, I'm like, I know a guy doing a documentary right now. So like we started group chatting, me, Chuck, and Porcelain. And that's when Chuck's like, yo, we got this. And of course, me and Porcelain, we didn't know them. We didn't know Chuck from Adam at that point. So we're like, obviously we got to make sure this is legit. And, we all did our own stuff. And then we were like, yo, this Nimmer and Owen they're kind of pieces of shit. And then that's when we started going down that road of like, we got work to do.
Well, I remember when you guys thought that, Owen was just kind of like a sad mess. And then I think it was about a week or two ago on one of your streams, I think it was either you or Royce said something like, "Dude, like Owen's a legit psychopath," or something that to that effect. And it was one of those moments like, "Yes, you guys are finally seeing what we've been seeing for months."
Yeah, I wouldn't label him a psychopath only in that like, a psychopath clinically would be a guy that like, strangles puppies and, fucking rapes children just because it gives them a thrill. Like that's a psychopath. Like to
Right.
me, he's legitimately though venturing into borderline, well, he's easily borderline personality disorder, but they like if you took him right now, he would get BPD and NPD. He would get that diagnosis right out the gate. But
Yeah.
but he's also, I suspect, kind of schizoid. Like he's venturing into a scary realm where it's legitimate psychosis. It's a break from what he perceives reality to be to what it actually is. And like I'm not gonna pick on crazy people, but at the same time, dude, like I turned it lighthearted goofing into like he struck my channel and made it war. What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do now?
Well, I mean, he also this was brought up in the documentary as well. He brought up a he I mean he attacked a full blown disabled comedian a few months back for simply making jokes about his low ticket sales. He didn't attack him literally, but he basically sicked the bears on him, and this comedian was getting a couple of actual death threats from the bears,
Yeah.
which is
Well, that's a certain level where I can't.
yeah.
That's one of those things where I can't really beef with him about it. Like, if you're a disabled guy or comedian, you come on my page and you come running your mouth, and then my people find out you're disabled and start shredding you for it. Like, that's on you, dude. The internet is a voluntary place.
Oh yeah.
So like if he went after. I have no problem with Owen. Like, I actually think it's funny if he made fun of a disabled guy who made fun of his comedy. Like, that's funny to me. Where I'm like, we shouldn't have done that. But when he's going after this kid who just says, "Hey, I don't think Jason Momoa is actually a pedophile, Owen.
Yeah.
You might want to look into that more." And he goes, "Fuck you! Let's get the Bears after him." And it turns out the kid just wants to grow up to be a pastor. And you're like, "All right, Owen, you gotta." Like to me, when if you go, "Hey, I think Mersh sucks," and I go, "Well, fuck you. You're in a wheelchair, or whatever." Like that's not as bad as when I say, "You know what? Hey guys, Sam Whitfield tried to murder my children. Here's his first and last name. Here are 4,000 people. Kill him." Like that's where I go. All right, you know what? I got a problem with that now. Like now we have beef.
Yeah. And supposedly with the wheelchair comedian, I mean, I still have to talk to him about this because I really don't have a problem with him and Owen beefing and roasting on each other, but the problem I do have is I guess the Bears did send him like, internet threats, which if that's the case, then obviously I'm not cool with that. But
I
even
think that's
so,
I think that's more indicative though of Owen and the sort of cult like fan base that he cultivates because
yeah.
that's the whole thing. Like we had to kick somebody out of our fan base last night, and we've only had to kick three people out of our fan base. We've been around for a year and a half, and we've only had to disavow three people in that time. But the thing is, we disavowed those people very publicly, and it's done in a way where they're never allowed back. And you have to do things like that to establish a code of behavior. There are things we don't tolerate in our community, and if the thing is, like with this bear community, they'll all go like, I threatened to kill that wheelchair comic. Here's a screenshot. Isn't that hilarious? Like, and they encourage it. Whereas with us, we would ban you from our community, and people get the idea in our community, like, we'll break your balls and we'll do some really mean shit. But like, there is a fucking line that is drawn. And when you start threatening people's lives, like our people would never do that. So that's more indicative, I think, of Owen and the sort of fan base he cultivates, which is very cult-like and very sort of angsty and angry. And I think like Owen's a bitter failure from LA, and he's cultivating a fan base of other bitter failures who want to blame their failures on, well, it's the elite pedophiles are keeping me down. No, they're not.
Well, it's been a very weird spiral because when I joined, Owen had just gone on Joe Rogan for I believe the third time with Kurt Metzger, and then I joined a week later, and for about a good solid month, I mean, he was just doing piano comedy and telling jokes. I mean, they weren't that great jokes, but they were still, better than I could do because I'm not a comic. And then as soon as the whole, like I said, as soon as the whole Nimmer Neary thing started, it just became, well, John Neary's a piece of crap, and the other accusation was he abuses women, which, you know, isn't is not true either.
No, no, this is
So
all this is all this is basically it. It's insecurity, it's a lack of humility. They can't handle the banter, so they have to make it personal. That's all this is.
yeah,
If Nimmer could have admitted, like John Neri, as far as I know, and no offense to John Neri, I don't know if he does YouTube or anything like that, but I don't know John Neri. As far as I know, he's not a comedian. He doesn't do a show. So, like, if John Neri came at me and was running me on the ropes on a stream, I would view that as like, well, who's this fucking nobody? But if this nobody is that good that he's got me on the ropes, because I mean, I know how to handle myself. I don't look at this the next day as like, how can I get him divorced? How can I ruin his family? I would go, hey, who's that guy that fucking destroyed me the other night? Can we get him to Let's get him to do some content. Let's figure out a way for him to do content and me make a few bucks on it and he make a few bucks on it. Like, I'm an opportunist. And
right.
this idea that like you can't be humble and go, all right, so I took a little, like, Rocky won. The whole point of that movie was, Rocky didn't win, but he really gave Apollo a fucking beating and embarrassed him. And you got to have some humility and go, I want that rematch. Let's make some money on this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and the thing it is, I think he and Nimmer at one point actually did kind of make amends, but it was Nimmer's sub fan base too that flamed the fires and that were like calling Nero racist. Now this is the other thing I wanted to bring up regarding this whole bear thing because it's interesting what you brought up of you've only had to disavow three fans. You and Royce are very clearly in control, I should say, of the ROTC fan base. Uh,
Nah, not really. Well, no, I'm sorry. You continue.
well, in control in the sense that, you know, for the most part, everyone can do their own thing, but you guys do have lines. And one of the comments I've been getting, and one of the comments Chuck has been getting, because all I've said is that in my mind, Owen is at fault for the Nimmer thing, partially because he did bring Nimmer up as a public figure. I mean, he made him a public figure, so he can't really get away from that. And all of these bears are like, well, Owen didn't know about Nimmer's stolen valor, and I'm like, well, still though, Nimmer is his sidekick slash business partner. It is kind of his responsibility as a public figure that he should know some of this stuff at least.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you mean control in terms of knowing what's going on in our
Yeah,
community, absolutely. But that's not like we definitely don't. We would if we wanted to control people, we would just be another group of spurgs on the internet. The reason why our community is so awesome and so kind of tempting to join is because it really is like a libertarian utopia. Like, we don't really, our Discord is like a thing of beauty. Like, it's people are having fun and joking and planning to go and downvote videos and fuck around, go troll somebody on their video, make them like, scream and get it sound clips. Like, everybody's having fun. There's never any like, hey, let's dox this guy. Let's fuck this dude's life up. Like we don't want to attract the sort of people who are attracted to those things. We want to attract people that are dicks, but creatively so and funny. And like, I want people that if I come up with something and it's not a good look, I want people in our community to go like, I don't like this, dude. I don't like where you're going with this. And you're not going to get banned for life. I might tell you to go fuck yourself and disagree with you and go, I'm doing it anyway. Stop me. But there's never like this, well, you're banned. You can't speak ever again. It's just, well, yeah, all right, fine. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm being a piece of shit right now, but fuck this guy. And people go, well, all right, I guess we got to live with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I know I'm kind of jumping around, but I'm curious to know, since you are a Trump guy, what do you think of this state of emergency regarding him wanting to build the wall?
It's like anything else. It's got pros and cons. Um, like I definitely, I think that the pros are obviously outweigh the cons in my opinion. I want this fucking wall, dude. We didn't vote for Donald Trump. We voted for a wall, and we voted for freedom of speech, and we voted for the Second Amendment. We voted for the person we thought was going to espouse those values. So, in my opinion, whatever we got to do, whatever our president we elected has to do to get this wall done, I'm game. So if he has to, now the only thing now I know people are saying, but that sets a precedent. What if they take our guns with the wall? Well, they're not going to do that because there's a difference between I'm using a national emergency to build a fence that doesn't affect your life, or we're going to go try to start manually taking guns away from hundreds of millions of Americans. One's way messier than the other, man. So I'm for it, man. We got to get the wall done. I was getting pretty pissed that he opened the government back up and he kind of cucked. So he's trying to get it done. Let's do it. I
Yeah,
like it.
I kind of have to agree. I would also say on mine too, because I've been hearing lots of stuff. Well, doesn't this set a dangerous precedent? Like, what if Democrats got elected and they wanted to make socialized healthcare a national emergency or something like that? And I just have to say I think this is way different because Trump has actually made the case for why the border is a national security issue,
Yeah.
whereas they haven't with socialized medicine or whatever they're trying to push now.
Well, yeah, and that's like people in your chat right now are saying like, well, the bill is amnesty and all that. Well, the bottom line is, guys, uh, we got these people in here anyway. We need to stop the flow of the people coming in. And look, if he's got to make some fucking sacrifices, so be it. But I will tell you this: all you people out there that think that 100% of Hispanics that come here and get like legitimized are going to vote blue, you're insane. Okay, you got to stop thinking that way. You know who your enemy is? If you don't want the Democrats to take this country over, you know who your enemy is? Guilty, rich, white liberals. Those are the people trying to fucking destroy you. Not a bunch of Mexicans that may get amnesty. And if they get amnesty, they'll now be legalized Americans. You guys think that they're all going to vote blue? You're nuts.
Exactly.
You guys want to keep this country? Win the culture war. Bottom line, win the culture war. Stop listening to QAnon and backers for Trump and all this other cornbread bullshit. Stop listening to the Brendan Dillies of the world. Start listening to the Sam Whitfields of the world, because this is how you're going to win the culture war. Not with this horse shit. Well, all beaners and women vote Democrat. Well, it's not true. You need to guilty white liberals and the city folk are your enemy.
Yeah, exactly. That's something that one of my co-hosts on my Sunday show brings up all the time is the urban population. I mean, that's why so many of these states like California are so blue, and same with New York. I know lots of people out in California who are diehard conservatives, but they can't do anything because they're surrounded basically by metropolitan areas like LA, which are just leftist hotbeds. So.
Yeah, and that's just how it's going to be. But if we can get a wall, I think a wall is a step in the right direction. Everybody's worried about amnesty. Well, I got bad news for you. These people are already here, buddy. They're already sucking us dry. So if we can build a wall, keep any new ones from coming in, and start fucking crushing these other ones for tax revenue, then Godspeed. Guess what? Once they start paying taxes and they're legitimized, you're going to see a lot more of them voting Republican. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think a lot of them actually do want to be here. I mean, obviously there's a large number of people who are coming over just to smuggle drugs, or and Trump's gonna get those people out once this whole wall becomes a thing, and once we figure out amnesty, if we figure it out. So yeah, it's just going to be a major process. So
Yeah, and then once we make it legal for right-wing death squads to handle all the child sex traffickers and the drug dealers, then the immigration issue will sort itself out anyway.
is
Because
that
then we'll have the wall up, so they'll have nowhere to run.
is that the job you're hoping for in this administration? Is right wing death
No,
squad leader?
no, sir. I'm a humble propagandist. That's all I do.
So, well, I mean, you seem like you could be pretty fierce in a fight, and I mean that in a good way. But
I'm not. I mean, my body's failing me, dude. My best years are behind me, but I could still. I've got like two really good fights left in me if I need to dig them up out of my soul. But no, I'm not I'll shoot you before I fight you. I'm in Florida. That's a stand your ground state.
that is true. That's the beautiful thing about living here. So, uh, well, anyway, sir, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Anything that I can plug for you?
No, well, just at Mersh on Twitter, Nightwave Radio, Nightwave Live. I'm trying to get people over to the backup channel so I can hit 1,000 and monetize. But no, thanks for having me on. And you guys need to subscribe here and share this and get this out so we can get you some subs too.
Thank you. One final question I do have regarding the show is I know you have an iTunes version of RTC, but have you thought of podcasting Nightwave at all, or would the files be too big?
No, you know what it is, man? I don't think my show would work at night with an audio only target. Like I think ROTC is good enough that you could listen to it. I think Nightwave, if you tried to listen to Nightwave, you'd go like, "What the hell is going on? I can't even see it." You know what I mean? A lot of it, me being drunk and high and laughing and reacting to things. So people are going to go, "Oh, why am I listening to this idiot laugh?" I don't even know what he's laughing at for 10 minutes. But no, man, everybody subscribe to Sam, the Whitfield Report. He's cool as fuck, and he's one of our dogs. And I'm glad, if anything came out of this whole Owen thing, I'm glad we all, at least became friends. So that's cool.
Yeah, thanks. So I really appreciate it, man. So
yeah, anything we can do to support you, man, let me know. Take care, bro.
All right, thanks. And thanks for watching, folks. I may be back later with a surprise stream later on tonight. We'll see how that goes. I may have an ace up my sleeve in terms of another guest, but regardless, thanks for tuning in for this segment of the show, and God bless and God save this great nation.